Hello students, this is your economics teacher INR. I hope you are well and utilizing the time wisely.
In the previous class, you learned about the Agriculture Refinance Development Corporation ARDC, regional rural banks, NABARD and its role in agricultural credit, and Reserve Bank of India and industrial finance. Today, you are going to learn about monetary policy, recent advancements in banking sector, money and capital market, and demonetization. Student, watch this video very carefully till the end. Fine, let us enter into the topics. First, we will discuss monetary policy. Students, take the page number 114. The basic goals of macroeconomic policy in most of the countries are full employment, price stability, rapid economic growth, balance of payments, equilibrium, and economic justice. Economic justice refers to equitable distribution of income. The government tries to achieve the goals through macroeconomic policy. Macroeconomic policy can be broadly divided into monetary policy and fiscal policy. Of course, the government follows other policies such as industrial policy, agricultural policy, tariff policy, and so on. But we limit our discussion only to monetary policy and the fiscal policy. Here, monetary policy is the macroeconomic policy being laid down by the central government towards the management of the money supply and interest rate. It is the demand side economic policy used by the government of country to achieve macroeconomic objectives like inflation, consumption, growth, and liquidity. The monetary policy gained its significance after the World War II thanks to the initiation made by the Milton Friedman, who is associated with the doctrines of monetarism and who received a Nobel Prize in 1976. He bluntly announced in his book Monetary History of the United States 1867 up to 1960 that the Great Depression of 1930s was largely that outcome of bangling monetary policies of the Federal Reserve System. Monetary policy is policy that employs the central bank control over supply and cost of money as an instrument for achieving the objectives of economic policy. Edward Shapiro. Weitzman put it as the deliberate efforts by the central bank to control money supply and credit condition for the purpose of achieving broad economic objectives. Whereas Professor G.K. Shaw defined it as any conscious action undertaken by the monetary authorities to change the quantity, availability, or cost of money. Monetary policy, expansionary versus contractionary. Expansionary or easy money policy or cheap money policy. Suppose the central bank senses that the economy faces unemployment and falling prices. It decided to increase aggregate demand by increasing money supply. The Reserve Bank increases money supply by buying securities for commercial banks in the open market and allowing the commercial banks to retain more reserve by lowering the cash reserve ratio. Subsequently, aggregate demand will increase as people have more funds in their hands. Here, expansionary policy is cheap money policy when a monetary authority uses its tools to stimulate the economy. An expansionary policy maintains a short-term interest rate at a lower than usual rate or increase the total supply of money in the economy more rapidly than usual. It is traditionally used to try to combat unemployment by lowering interest rate in the hope that less expensive credit will entice business into expanding. This increased aggregate demand or the overall demand for all goods and services in an economy, which boosts short-run growth and as measured by gross domestic product GDP growth. In short, cheap money policy denotes a path in which loans are available at low rates of interest or a policy which creates this situation. Cheap money policy is followed by a central bank during a period of depression to increase the supply of money so as to stimulate investment. Second, contractionary policy or tight money policy or dear money policy. An excess of aggregate demand over aggregate supply causes inflationary pressure in the country. The Reserve Bank of India decided to reduce inflation by tight money policy. Central Bank decided to reduce bank reserves available with the commercial banks. It sells government securities in open market side by side. It raises the cash reserve ratio of the commercial banks. This action reduces the cash reserve available with the commercial banks, reducing thereby money supply. Assuming demand for money is unchanged, the increase of cash reserve affects the bank deposits of commercial banks. The reductions of reserve reduces the ability of the banks to create credit and thereby the money supply. The reductions of money supply with a given level of demand will lead to increase in the rate of interest. Now the borrowing of bank credit will become costly. Thus the borrowers are naturally induced to reduce their quantum of investment. Here the contractionary monetary policy is dear money policy, which maintains short-term interest rates higher than usual or which slows the rates of growth in the money supply or even shrink it. This slows short-term economic growth and lessens inflations. Contractionary monetary policy can lead to increased unemployment and depressed borrowing and spending by consumer and business, which can eventually result in an economic rations of implement too vigorously. In short, when there is inflation in a country, the central bank tries to control it by following dear money policy. The term dear money policy refers to a pause or policy when interest rates are high. Next, objectives of monetary policy. The monetary policy in developed economics has to serve the functions of stabilization and maintaining proper equilibrium in economic system. But in case of underdeveloped countries, the monetary policy has to be more dynamic so as to meet the requirements of an expanding economy by creating suitable conditions for economic progress. It is now widely recognized that monetary policy can be a powerful tool of economic transformation. The specific objectives of monetary policy are neutrality of money, second, stability of exchange rates, third, price stability, fourth, full employment, fifth, economic growth, last, equilibrium in the balance of payments. First, neutrality of money. Economists like Wickstead, Hayek and Robertson are the chief exponent of neutral economy. They hold the view that monetary authority should aim at neutrality of money in the economy. Monetary changes would be the root cause of all economic fluctuation. According to neutralists, the monetary change cause distortion and disturbance in the proper operation of the economic system of the country. Second objectives, exchange rate stability. Exchange rate stability was the traditional objectives of monetary authority. This was the main objectives under gold standard among different countries. And there was a disequilibrium in the balance of payments of the country. It was automatically corrected by movements. It was popularly known as expand currency and credit when gold is coming in, contract currency and credit when gold is going out. This system will correct the disequilibrium in the balance of payments and the exchange rate stability will be maintained. It must be noted that if there is instability in the exchange rate, it would result in outflow or inflow of gold resulting in unfavorable balance of payments. Therefore, stable exchange rates are advocated. Third, objectives of monetary policy. Price stability or achieving price stability by controlling inflation and deflation. Economists like Gustav Cassel and Gein suggested price stabilization as the main objectives of monetary policy. Price stability is considered the most genuine objectives of monetary policy. Stable price repose public confidence. It promotes business activity and ensures equitable distributions of income and wealth. As a consequence, there is a general wave of prosperity and welfare in the community. But it is admitted that price stability does not mean price rigidity or price stagnation. A mild increase in the price level provides a tonic for economic growth. It keeps all virtues of a stable prices. In short, price stability ensures certain advantages. First, it enables money to function as a store of value and a standard of deferred payments more effectively. Second, reduces business fluctuation like inflation and deflation. Third, ensures equitable distributions of income among the people and promotes economic welfare of the people. Fourth objectives of monetary policy: full employment. During World Depression, the problem of unemployment has increased rapidly. It was regarded as socially dangerous, economically wasteful, and morally deplorable. Thus, full employment was considered as the main goal of monetary policy. With the publications of Keynes' General Theory of Employment, Interest and Money in 1936, the objectives of full employment gained full support as the chief objectives of monetary policy. In short, full employment refers to the situation in which all employable resources are fully and effectively employed. Professor Keynes suggested increasing of consumption and investment expenditure to reach full employment. Fifth objectives of monetary policy: economic growth. Economic growth, or the stimulating economic growth, is the process whereby the real per capita income of a country increases over a long period of time. There is an increase in the total physical and real output, productions of goods for the satisfactions of human wants. Therefore, monetary policy should promote sustained and continuous economic growth by maintaining equilibrium between the total demand for money and the total production capacity and further creating favorable conditions for savings and investment. For bringing equality between demand and supply, flexible monetary policy is the best course. In short, economic growth is indicated by increase in GNP and per capita income. Ultimately, standard of living is raised and inequalities of income reduced. Suitable monetary policy in association with the fiscal policy sustain the promotion of economic growth. Last objectives of monetary policy: equilibrium in the balance of payments. Equilibrium in the balance of payments is another objectives of monetary policy which emerged significance in post-war year. This is simply due to the problem of international liquidity on account of the growth and of world trade at a more faster speed than the world liquidity. It was felt that increasing of deficit in balancing of payments reduces the ability of an economy to achieve other objectives. As a result, many less developed countries have curtailed their imports, which adversely affected development activities. Therefore, monetary authority makes efforts to maintain equilibrium in the balance of payments. Second, you are going to learn about recent advancement in banking sector. First, e-banking. E-banking, use of computers and telecommunication to enable banking transaction to be done by telephone or computer rather than through human interaction. Its features includes electronic funds transfer for retail purchase, automatic teller machines ATM, and automatic payroll deposits and bill payments. Here, online banking is also known as internet banking, is an electronic payments system that enables customers of a bank or other financial institution to conduct a range of financial transactions through the financial institution website. The online banking system typically connected to or be part of the core banking system operated by a bank and is in contrast to branch banking, which was the traditional way customer accessed banking service. Today, virtual banks or direct banks have only an internet presence, which enables them to lower cost than traditional brick and mortar banks. Second, RTGS and NEFT. What is meant by RTGS? Real-time cross-settlement system or specialist funds transfer system where the transfer of money or security takes place from one bank to any other bank on a real-time and on a cross basis. NEFT, National Electronic Funds Transfer, is a payment system that enables electronic transfer of funds from one bank to another bank account. Money transfer can be made by an individual or company to an individual or company's bank account with any bank that is a member of NEFT scheme, according to the Reserve Bank of India. Here, interbank transfer enables electronic transfer of funds from the account of remitter in one bank to the account of the beneficiary maintained with any other bank branches. There are two systems of interbank transfer, RTGS and NEFT. Both these systems are maintained by Reserve Bank of India. NEFT operates in half-hourly batches. Currently, there are 23 settlements from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. on all working days, including working Saturdays. Therefore, the beneficiary can expect to get the credit for the transaction put through between 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. on all working days, including working Saturdays on the same day. For transactions settled in the 6:30 p.m. up to 7 p.m. batches on all working days, including working Saturdays, the credit will be affordable either on the same day or on the next working days. ATM, Automated Teller Machine. An automated teller machine is an electronic banking outlet that allows customers to complete basic transaction without the aid of a branch representative or teller. Here, ATM transferred the bank tech system when they are first introduced in 1967. The next revolution in ATM is likely to involve contactless payments, much like Apple Pay or Google Wallet. Soon we will be able to contactless ATM transaction using a smartphone. Some ATM innovations are already available overseas. For example, biometric authentication is already used in India, and its recognition is in place at Qatar National Bank ATM. These technologies can help overall bank security by protecting against ATM banks. Next, Paytm. Paytm stands for Pay Through Mobile. It is an e-commerce shopping website based in Noida, Uttar Pradesh. It started with mobile recharge and utility bill payments, and today it has become a full marketplace and has around 100 million registered users. Here, Paytm Bank in August 2015, Paytm received a license from RBI to launch a payments bank. The Paytm Payments Bank is a separate entity in which founder Vijay Shekhar Sharma will hold 51 share, 197 Communication hold 39% and 10% will be held by the subsidiary of 197 and Sharma. Next, debit card and credit card. A debit card is a payment card that deducts money directly from a consumer's checking amount to pay for a purchase. Debit cards eliminate the need to carry cash or physical checks to make purchase directly from your savings. Here, a debit card is a card allowing the holder to transfer money electronically from their bank account when making a purchase. Credit card. A credit card is a small plastic card issued by a bank, building society, etc., allowing the holder to purchase goods and service on credit. Here, a credit card is a payment card issued to user or cardholder to enable the cardholder to pay a merchant for goods and services based on the cardholder's promise to the card issuer to pay them for the amount so paid plus the other agreed charges. The card issuer, or usually a bank, creates a revolving accounts and grants a line of credit to the cardholders, from which the cardholder can borrow money for payments to a merchant or as a cash advance. In other words, credit cards combine payment service with extension of credit. Complex fee structure in the credit card industry may limit customers' ability to shopping. Third, you are going to learn about money market and capital market. Money markets. The money market refers to trading in very short-term debt investment at the wholesale levels. It involves large volume traders between institution and traders at the retail level. It includes money market mutual funds bought by individual investors and money market accounts opened by bank customers. Here, money market is the mechanism through which short-term funds are loaned and borrowed. It designated financial institution which handle the purchase, sale and transfer of short-term credit instruments. Commercial banks, acceptances houses, non-banking financial institution and the central bank are the institution catering to the requirements of short-term funds in the money market. Capital market. A capital market is a financial market in which long-term debt or equity-backed securities are bought and sold. Capital markets channel the wealth of shares to those who can put it to long-term productive uses, such as companies or governments making long-term investment. Here, capital market is a part of financial system which is concerned with raising capital by dealing in shares, bonds and other long-term investment. The market where investment instruments like bonds, equities and mortgages are traded is known as the capital market. Lastly, you are going to learn about demonetization. Demonetization is the act of stripping a currency unit of its status as legal tender. It occurs whenever there is a change of national currency. The current form of money is pulled from circulation, often to be replaced with new coins or notes. On 8th November 2016, the Indian Prime Minister Mr. Narendra Modi announced the demonetization of all 500 and 1000 rupees note of the Mahatma Gandhi series. However, more than 99% of those currencies came back to the RBI. Benefits of demonetization. As a result of demonetization, people will tend to deposit their cash in the bank rather than at home. Second, demonetization helped government uncover huge amount of unaccounted cash or money. Objectives of demonetization. First objectives, removing black money from the country. Second, stopping of corruption. Third, stopping terror funds. Fourth, curbing fake notes. That's all for today. We will continue in the next class. Finish the assignment by clicking the link below.